thank everyone for giving me this time to come to testing talks. And then, of course, I see that it's a last session for the day, but to keeping everyone active and then energetic and asking questions, I hope I can do my best job over here. Okay, so I'm just talking about quality engineering in the era of Industry 4.0, which is a quite interesting phrase. You might see that everybody is talking about quality engineering, and I see that keep hearing about what is Industry 4.0, and I don't know how many of you are aware of it. Can I see some hands up? What is quality engineering in the industry of 4.0? Okay, so by the way, okay, let me introduce myself. This is Prasad Sripati. I'm actually working with Thyroid Payments. I have about 18 years of experience where I worked with various giants, some Afterpay, Atlassian, CA Technologies, and Model N, and DXC. And some of them are product-based companies, some of them are services-based organizations. But I keep seeing that there's one thing common is they have the theme, and they have the strategy and purpose. Everybody is working towards their own purpose. But some organizations, they just keep spilling over everything and then dropping everything and then keep going on. And that's where I got a chance to work towards various options such as SDE as quality coach, agile coach, and agile product manager. I have CSP in Scrum Alliance and CSP in product management. And so I keep wearing multiple hats, which makes me very energetic. At the same time, I keep thinking in the shoes of how the customer would actually react to this particular application, and how do they see the value coming out of it? How can I actually generate the insights to the organization and then make use of that so that we can bring revenue coming in? That's the main motive and generative force for me. That's where I started looking into how about data? Everybody is talking about data, right? So they keep saying data, data, data. What data they are talking about? Companies are generating huge data, and they keep, if you remember, there used to be 1.44 inch, 1.44 feet, the floppy disks and all those things, right? So now we see the huge data is coming at a cheaper price, then everybody is dumping the data into cloud. Easy. $2, $3, that's it. That keep going on, but are we really utilizing the data? Some organizations see that, yeah, we are utilizing the data up to some extent. That's why I started looking into data quality and data engineering and data excellence and all those things so that we can derive the information from the data, whatever we are receiving from the customer, right? Okay, now I'll stop myself there and then continue going on. Okay, these are my thoughts. I'm just trying to set up the platform here so that what are we going to get out of it? Okay, by the way, end of the session, I have a small survey. I will expect you to give your information, so keep listening to this and then provide your insights, which are really helpful for us. Okay, so where do you see yourself after 5 years as a quality engineering and quality engineer? Of course, the space of quality engineering is keep changing every time. We never see that, oh, about 18 years ago when I started my journey, it used to be like manual testing all the time. But I got an opportunity to get into automation. I say, I don't really like the manual testing. How many of you are really interested about manual testing? Nobody, right? So why do we need to do that? We have to do it. It's bread and butter. Yeah? So that's how we look at it. So that's where I thought, so let's talk about that. And how are we actually trying to leverage and ensure the schema of the database, anything, whatever we are using. So do we have any tools which are leveraging it? Or can we get any insight from that? If the schema changes, my production issues or anything is being broken, or probably do I see any monitoring and maintenance of data, or whatever it is. It doesn't matter, right? So eventually, what are the things that I'm going to do with it? So let's say the production issues due to poor quality integrity. We never know how the data is coming in and how the data is going out. Eventually, we get to know the data which is available with us. So how do we get to know which the data what we have is correct or not? That's called data integrity, right? So how do we understand that? So these are all the thoughts that I have. So with these thoughts, I started looking into the aspect of Industry 4.0 in the quality engineering space. How is it going to be changing? By the way, what is Industry 4.0? That I do have a slide later, but I'll keep looking at this later. Let's see. Okay, welcome to the future of quality engineering and Industry 4.0, which is targeted with various options, which are called, we have big data, IoT devices, AI chatbots, and everything is being connected and automated. We're getting all the data from there, right? So traditional testing is this really enough for us? The testing, whatever we are doing, might not be sufficient enough. Because of the data which is pumping in, humongous data is coming in. So we hardly test 1 or 2 scenarios out of it. Probably 1% if we test, that seems like so much we have tested, right? So those are all various thoughts. At the same point of time, data quality engineering is becoming a mission critical statement. So I keep this one as thought process. So why is it going to be very mission critical statement for me? I will tell you a little later, but keep that thought in your minds for now. Okay, let's get into what is Industry 4.0. So when we talk about Industry 4.0, we should have Industry 1.0 and 2.0, 3.0 and 4.0. I just put the picture over there just to mention about what is the one Industry 1.0 and second, third and fourth. So pretty much we are in the phase of 4, where we have an automated systems, everything is being controlled by cyber and Wi-Fi, remote networking and all those things. Eventually, though we are there, we see that there are a lot of issues related to that. Smart factories are generating, real-time data analysis is supposed to be happening, and predictive maintenance and autonomous decision making. I'm just giving all those pointers just to make sure these are the things which we look at as part of Industry 4.0, right? So when we look at the quality engineer, any questions? If you have any questions, feel free to raise your hand so that we can make it interactive too, okay? Okay. When it comes to quality engineering support in the intelligent and continuous systems, everywhere they need an engineer which is called quality engineer, right? So, but are we really doing the job of quality engineering in this particular era? That's a thought, okay? So let's look at it. So I actually gave the information at the top mentioning that Industry 4.0 technologies and how the value is being utilized in the market at this point of time. That way, how are we leveraging it? $15 trillion of GDP has been growing up by 2030. That's a huge number. $1 trillion, not even $1, $2. So still, I just mentioned that in USD, US dollars, not Australian dollars. That means it is much money, more money going out, right? So let's see, how are we evolving in that particular case of quality engineering when it comes to Industry 4.0? Okay. So here the evolution started. So we are started our journey as a testers. In fact, I just take a step back saying which is tester and the quality engineer. And then finally we have become data guardians. So that's where we are supposed to be heading up, because we saw that the data is a major factor where everything is being flowing through and going out, right? So that's where we wanted to understand and make sure that whatever information we have right now is being accurate, and that actually derives the information appropriately, and that should be used for our predictions, right? Future as well. So for that, what are the skills that we really need? System thinking. That means it's a holistic approach. What we need to understand how my data is flowing from the starting point to the source to the destination. The destination could be our server, the data server, our data warehouse, or probably we might be using data analytics tools like Databricks, or probably other scenarios. Now Microsoft has come up with Microsoft Fabric. How many are using Microsoft Fabric? Any idea? Do we have anybody using Microsoft Fabric here? Good. Okay. And of course it is so expensive, but people are after it. The only reason is lake house architecture. That's the only thing. Why do we need that? Because everything is available on one database. That is only one stream, one warehouse. I don't need to really worry about maintaining multiple streams, multiple warehouses, multiple repositories, nothing, right? So that's how things are coming up. But still, we need to ensure that everything is being worked out well. Let's see. And we also need to have the predictive accuracy and preventive nature as well, because we are also using CI/CD pipelines to run through and then make sure that things have been working out at a faster pace. Without the speed, we can't proceed forward. Right? So that's one more interesting factor that we had to add it to the function of data. Okay, and another thing, let's see, okay, right now we understand what is quality engineer responsibilities in a space of evolving role of Industry 4.0 as a becoming future data guardians, right? We are the future data guardians because we are quality engineers. So in that, I understand everything fine now, everything is going above and beyond to me, okay? Now let me wait. Why really data quality is really needed for me? Any questions? Any thoughts in that area? Do I really need to have the data quality? And data quality is the key for everything. So we have an automated system, we have AIs and chatbots, AI agents, and everything is being available. Let's say we have a wrong data being imported into your system. And eventually, what do you get? Garbage in, garbage out. So eventually get the wrong information. So that actually derives, okay, let's put it in the perspective of an organization. In the organization, a CEO or C-level people, they're all looking at the data, whatever we are providing. Let's say the analytics tools and all those things have provided wrong information. They will go forward with that approach, whatever has been predicted by the model, they'll continue. And eventually what is going to happen? A disaster, right? So the data is a key core concept that we have to be ensuring it. So that's where we need to have this data models being generated. In the modern data system, we have to have the data-driven entity and data-driven focus. So I also mentioned here the data cleaning related AI models and all those things to have the real data. And as I mentioned, poor data is going to lead to poor quality. Data quality is a combination of model accuracy and business confidence, right? So eventually, these two are the important factors. Business had to be confident about it, and according to the business model, whatever we build, and we also have to have the model accuracy with which we can actually derive the data quality. Okay, now we understand the data quality. Before getting in, so let me apply to myself. As a quality engineer, I want to use all these things. So what are the key responsibilities that I will be holding as a quality engineer in this particular space? All these are very critical. I see, yes, I understand. But at the same point of time, how am I going to make sure myself is being applied in that space of it, right? That's the next ultimate question what we have. Okay, now my key responsibility is data profiling. That means the data what I have is accurate and validated properly. And according to the source, we may have multiple sources pumping the data, and we should have a consolidated, accurate data, which is absolutely accurate. If one source is providing information which is incorrect, and the other source is providing inaccurate, then how are you going to match them up? Then the dilemma will come in, and ambiguity would lead into disaster again. So everything is connected to disaster. So my metadata, so I had to keep a particular source as a metadata where I will have the complete information which is accurate from this particular source. I don't really mind about the other sources. I will consider this source as the primary source. This is going to drive the further information even when I'm trying to apply the models on it, right? So that's how we had to take it forward. Real-time data monitoring, data lineage. Lineage is another word which actually comes up from the higher perspective wherever, okay, in the holistic view, when we start the data, this is either the business data or technical data or the user data, whatever it is. We have to take it in a perspective of applying across to the starting point from the source to the destination so that it can provide us the right information through analytics or any other data modeling tools. Okay, so I'll pause over there, and I'll also have another thing called, So I will mention about what are the tools that we can actually make use in this particular case. Great Expectation actually provides a lot of insights at a stage whenever you are making a modification and transformation on the data, you keep applying the rules on it and then making sure that which data is accurate and how are we going to evaluate it. It's at the unit testing level itself we'll be validating the data. So that way, we will make that much more easier to keep the data consistency across the system. And we also have ADF, which is, somebody was talking about Azure Data Factory, right? So that is also a fantastic tool which actually helps us to transform the data and load the data and keep the data always handy. And somebody is also mentioning about data bricks, which has the analytics capability, which derives the outcomes out of it. The value is being always coming up from the data, which has been evaluated out of right source and correct accuracy. And we also see organizations mature data quality programs improve. Organizations which have mature data programs have improved their efficiency by 40%. These are all various tips which I'm actually providing. I'm not going through each one of them, but have a look at it. That actually shows that everything is being connected to the data when it comes to technology, when it comes to AI, doesn't matter. So everything is being connected to the data accuracy and data modeling. So let's look into that. Ensuring data integrity is a common thing that we understand it. Key responsibilities as a data engineer, we know that data integrity is one of the key component which we have to be focusing on. So now, as I mentioned earlier, so if you put a wrong information, or wrong data, or wrong prompt to the AI chart, it will give the wrong output. But when are we going to evaluate it? Only after everything happens downstream, end of the system, or probably at the top executive level, the wrong decision had been made. Eventually, we see the disaster happening. So that's why most of the organizations fail, because of the wrong data. How are you going to fix it? That's an easy solution, right? That's where data integrity is playing the major role. So we understand, again, the data integrity is needed. But I'm receiving humongous data from the multiple sources. Then how do we need to do that? We have a solution already been built, which is called automation. We always say that automation is the key for every success, right? So, but how are we going to leverage it? We have to leverage the automation through AI models, AI system, and AI validations, even within the data itself, streamlining. As I mentioned, Great Expectations has its own versatile version of it, just to ensure that the data, whatever I'm receiving, is accurate and not actually corrupted. So if I see any expectation being failed, that means I should, whenever I see there's some mismatch related to my expectation, I would immediately report it to the respective developer saying, okay, here is the code change you made. Because of this data is mismatching. So go back and fix it immediately. That is how we have to be automating it. But still, when we talk about integration and automation and all these things, doesn't it look like, are we leveraging the concept of DevOps model? Because it's supposed to be a continuous model. Every line of data had to be validated. Every line of the code has to be validated. Everything had to be validated and tested. And then we have to build it, release, test. Everything has to be updated, right? So it's a combination of data with the DevOps model, which is called DevOps. DevOps plays the major role when it comes to implementation of the SDLC cycle. But when it comes to data, which is integrated with DevOps, which leads us a success with respect to this thing. So eventually, we end up having continuous integration and continuous deployment with the help of data, which is called DataOps. Okay. So in the industry 4.0, the system is supposed to be generating the data, and we are following the data, and we are changing the data, and we are actually testing the data again for every small and big code. So it's a combination of DataOps, right? So now, I have understood what is quality engineering in this space and what is the importance of data, data quality, data integrity. Now, since I've been using this particular data integrity models and all those things, now I understand I had to go back and continuously test it with the help of continuous integration, continuous deployment, which is called DataOps, with AI models or continuous testing, right? So now let's go back to our profile building. So with the help of this thing, we have to build a resilient system which is confident and which should provide the confidence to us as a quality engineer, because we are the one who's assuring it. And on top of it, we have to make sure that our management is also happy about what model and strategy, whatever we build, is being successful as well. So we have to have all predictive quality assessments, and these ones which actually drives us, a quality engineer, to be more effective when it comes to DataOps. Okay, so now I understand. Okay, now I want to become a data quality engineer. How is it possible? Would it happen just like that? No. We need to have skills and tools and technologies. Before that, do we really see any growth in this particular space of area? Right? And what are the impacts that I'm going to create? And do we see any demand in the system? And what are the additional capabilities that I have? Let's have a look. Okay, So in this particular space, what we see is quality is a trust, reliability, and the third one is automation. Automation we can achieve through AI. Reliability we can achieve through DataOps. And quality has to have the trust. The trust is supposed to be built by us, giving the same information or right information to the management, right? So that's where we need it. So our key takeaways are quality. Before that, okay. So our key right now we see that there's a high demand for quality engineering space with respect to data. And as I show at the bottom, right? Did you know quality engineering, including data quality engineers, they have the top performing, fast growing list in the top 3. This is not my report. This is worldwide across. LinkedIn has provided as part of careers list information. So do we see this particular information in Australia? Have you ever seen anybody been known as data quality engineer in Australia? No. The reason is Australia is still lagging. That's the simplest and easiest answer, right? So, but eventually, before somebody comes there and say that, do you know there's something called data quality engineer? We have to be equipped with that roles and responsibilities. Otherwise, we'll be like left behind in the society, right? So, if you are very curious, if you want to understand the data and provide the right insights to your management for the success of the organization, so that's where you are driving force. You have to be turned yourself as a data quality engineer. So you don't need to have the title, but you should have the curiosity and the skill that you need to learn. But these skills are still transferable. If you are a data engineer, and if you're a data scientist, and if you want to become a data quality engineer, you're still feasible. But data engineers, I actually provided one of the note earlier. The data engineers or data scientists, they are all struggling with the wrong data for about 85% of their time is being wasted, our resources are being wasted because of the poor data that they are receiving. And they are they're trying to clean the data and make sure that the data is good enough to make sure the analytics are going to be run. So that shows that if you're getting into the shoes of them, initially when they started building up the software development lifecycle, we never had a role called quality engineer or a tester. They used to believe that, okay, developer, engineer, software engineer, my software engineer is excellent, I don't need a tester. That was the scenario. Now, we see that so many issues so many production issues are going out. And that's where we see that, okay, that's a problem. Why didn't we test it? Because we did not have enough resources. We don't have any QE being allocated for our tribe or square, whatever it is. Eventually, that hits, finally, there's a blow for us, right? So in the same way, in the data engineering space, data quality engineering role is going to be a popular role upcoming. So I would encourage everyone to get started. If you're curious about it, get started with that. There's so much of data that we have to be evaluating going forward. Eventually, that would be you who will become a data quality engineer. Yep. So with that, I will just share one more thing. So these are the key concepts that we have talked about right now. I don't want to repeat once again. Just to make sure that who is data quality engineer and what are his roles and what are the challenging ideas and what is the impact that the person is going to be creating, and quality is a combination of trust and other scenarios. And we have already done all those things, right? Any questions before we go on? I'll just pause here. I believe I have given so much of data. In fact, it is so much of information, I understand. End of the session, I should have requested Cameron to schedule this one a little earlier so that I would have received so many questions. Yes, please. Right. Which tools you're talking about? Yes, very good question. Still, in the data engineering space, the tools are not being given to AI. The reason is, if you look at Azure Data Factory, if you launch it and try to create a model there, or a pipeline there, if you run it, it will take so much of time. And even to load the data into Databricks, or analyze the data, it will take so much of time. So they can't actually go into that state with the AI. At this point of time, it would happen, it might happen a little later, but the technologies what we have right now, we can have so much of storage and capacity and everything is loaded, but the only problem is AI cannot be there, right? So we can do the transformation. Probably we can run a Lambda function or anything related to that. We can do that, all those things. But the only problem is we can't load the data so quickly and get out of it, and then validations cannot be done automatically, right? Still, okay, so there is one more which I want to highlight here. Some of the people might be thinking about what is really different between, really different with respect to data quality engineering and ETL testing. We might have heard about ETL testing so many times, right? So I might have repeated some of the content, but ETL testing is quite different than data quality engineering. So that's why I have an article which I already wrote it on the LinkedIn. I'll just leave it to your thought because I don't want to get into the details of it. At a very high level, ETL testing would be done on the production data once it is done, post-deployment. But data quality engineering is preventive mechanism where before getting into the production itself, you're validating the data and making sure that your data is absolutely fantastic. You don't have any disasters. That's you are trying to have it at least. Yeah. Okay, so with that, I'm going to just leave it over here. And I have a scan. So just scan this one. This is just something which I talked to Cameron and then said, okay, so I want to have some feedback on this particular topic because I've never seen anybody talking about data quality engineering. So I want your insights so that we can make this session much more helpful. Just scan this QR code and provide your inputs. You don't need to give your name and details. If you want to be participating in that $20 voucher, lucky winner, so just give that. Otherwise, you just provide the information at least, so that will be really helpful for us. So meanwhile, I'll open the floor for the audience just to ask the questions. Feel free to ask the question. Any question, no question is a wrong question. Everything is good. Yeah, please, sir.
Would there be any metrics for reporting on data quality?
Yes, very good question. The data quality, there are so many metrics we have. If you look at, as Sandeep was mentioning earlier, time series data and all those things, we get so much of data coming in. If you go to Data Factory or Azure, or in that case, you have so much of information being there. There are so many metrics you can add, and eventually you can derive the information from there. It also depends on what metrics we are actually after. I'm actually not getting into the details of data quality engineering. I'm just giving the scratch of it, or just scratching the surface of it, just to make sure what it is. If I go into the details, probably everybody would sleep here. I always have conversations with Mithun saying, okay, if I give a mic, a slot to you, you keep talking, so I don't want to give any chance to you. You are the last person to ask any questions or anything you have, whatever you have, you just reserve that so that you can have an offline conversations with me. By the way, Mithun is my manager. Yeah, that's how I actually keep it. So I'm just giving the context of it, just to say, right now, the industry is looking for data quality engineers, where I'm not saying that you're going to become a competitor to me. Everybody had to be sharing the knowledge. What I believe is, gain the information and equip yourself, train yourself, and then share that information back to the community. Then you will be on par with the community. Then you try to grow up. That's the easiest way to learn and grow. That's what I believe, and I keep doing it. Okay? Any other questions? Okay, please. Oh, very good question. So there are data quality issues, but we are not 100% getting into the details of it. We have a team called data engineering team, where we do have a quality engineer being assigned. So we're working on building up a very good data model in this particular quarter, which we're starting. And so right now, we are at a very early stages, just to make sure, because everybody thinks about the data, whatever we have is absolutely okay. We are providing the insights, that's all okay. But we started implementing our own mechanism just to make sure that we are getting into the next level of it. So at this point, for your answer, we are still at the earlier stages of it. Yeah. But I am interested about it. So that's where I keep talking to my data scientists and data engineers and everyone. Just where are they and how are they, and then getting into the details of it, and then doing the coding work or whatever it is needed. Yeah. Yeah. Any questions? Okay. So this is one of the book which gives the complete information about fundamentals of data engineering. These two people are very, very good. I keep looking into this book. I keep reading this book. If it is feasible, buy this book and read it. Okay. So these two people were actually data scientists. I'll tell you the quick story of it. So these two people were data scientists. They initially wanted to involve themselves as a data scientist. They want to derive the insights and then do all those things. But by looking at the data, they felt it's not feasible immediately. They had to step down and then go to the data. As I said, right, data cleaning is the first thing where initially it used to be 95% of the work would be wasted because of data cleaning. If the data is so clean, they can actually analyze it very fast. If the data is not clean, so they had to do anomaly detection, remove duplicates, so much of garbage, and unclean data leads to unclean, as I said, right, garbage in, garbage out. Eventually, they stepped down and started building up an environment which is called data engineering. So from there, they start talking about what is ingestion, what is transformation, what is the loading of it, and how do we do that, what is the sequence of it, what is security associated to that, and so on and so forth. Everything has been discussed by themselves, both of them, and they started stepping into the shoes of data engineer. They started a role called data engineer, and then they started analyzing everything, right? So I refer this particular book just as a reference. I just put it over there. With this, I'm just trying to come to a conclusion. So let me know if you have any questions. I'm open to discuss. And one more thing is, feel free to reach out to me over LinkedIn.